Nibiru is one of the most interesting cards Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever seen. I mean, think about it. A few years ago, we all dreamt of having the power of attributing every monster on our opponent's field on turn 0. And now there's a card for that, and it can be argued that it's actually very fair. Now, the problem isn't necessarily the fact that there is nothing to tribute or no deck or situation where the card is really applicable, because it still has tons of interactions. As it currently stands, Nibiru is actually not too bad against the best combo decks of the format, aka Fire King Snake Eyes, Yubel, and Snake Eye Azamina. Against Yubel, the card usually ends up being negated by Phantom of Yubel, so it's not really like it does much of anything, and against Snake Eye decks, they can just recover from it. The Fire King deck also can just use Arvada to negate it, so it might be even easier for them. Not to mention that they can get their whole field tributed, and then on your turn, they can use Kirin to destroy a fire, and then revive back Garunix, and then start applying pressure from there. A few years back, it could be argued that the correct timing for Nibiru was to use it as late as possible, so pretty much when your opponent full comboed before your opponent could get to an Omni Negate. With that being said, this is no longer something that always works. So I'm not going to go into too much details concerning its application against the currently existing decks, as I especially want to focus on Ryzeal and Maliss. So in case you didn't know, Nibiru is an extremely good card against Maliss, but you do have to use it differently from how you usually would. Against combo decks, you want to resolve a big fat juicy Nibiru to get rid of all of your opponent's bodies, but against Maliss, you want to use Nibiru against a lot of small monsters in order to prevent your opponent from getting to what I call the Nibiru checkpoint. And that checkpoint happens as soon as your opponent summons the White Binder and then sets the GWC so that he can summon back the White Binder on your turn, and then revive back the White Binder, banish the Red Ransom, the White Rabbit, and then get the Chop card that can surge, banish a card, etc. So even if you nib your opponent and he ends on basically 0 monsters on the board, he still ends on a stacked graveyard with a Monster Reborn Trap, and that's really what matters the most. Now, that will deny your opponent a couple of draws and the Terahertz, which does matter, but with an extender like Paralytic Seed, for example, you're basically just back to square one. Your opponent's board will pretty much be the same, and you'll get punished for nibbing too early, quote-unquote. On the flip side, if you nib way too late and your opponent doesn't have any extenders, you just outplayed yourself by letting your opponent generate a lot of advantage. Now, that is the one deck where Nibiru actually overperforms, by the way, because the same cannot be said about Ryzeal. Because that deck does not lose to a single Nibiru regardless of how you play it out. And unlike the Maliss deck, where they just accept the Nibiru and play through it, Ryzeal actually has a negate for it. So Ryzeal Cross is a field spell that can be searched on summon number 3 or 4 using the Duo Drive, and as soon as it hits the field and you have an Xyz material under your Xyz monster, you can negate any monster effect. And you can also negate chain-blocked monster effects, which is pretty broken because you're not activating the Ryzeal Cross to do anything, you're rather just declaring that you're using the effect on resolution. So since you're not activating the Ryzeal Cross to negate a monster effect, even if your opponent has, let's say, Nibiru and Ghost Ogre to use in combination with each other, it is not gonna work. Therefore, you would need something like a Veiler or Imperm or Ash or Mourner or Ogre for the Duo Drive, and then you nib later when your opponent tries to extend past that. But then you do get punished if your opponent hard draws the field spell, which could actually happen very often if people choose to play 2 or 3 field spells. And I'm not kidding, by the way, because there is a world in which people will play multiple field spells, especially if people are playing Pot of Desires. I really do feel like the field spell is underappreciated because it really is a great card. I mean, it negates a monster effect, it can, draw some cards, recycle back your resources, it gives you an infinite grind game, so yeah, it is the MVP of the deck, I want to say. Now, there is another important thing I should mention about Nibiru against Ryzeal. The card is completely unplayable if you pair it up with something like Drill and Logbird or the Molchemy monsters. The reason for that is because when Ryzeal are under any of these lingering cards, they're not going to be doing full combo. They will just make a single rank 4 monster and 3 summons and then call it a turn, and usually that rank 4 will be something like Baguska or Detonator, whichever one is best in the current context. So look, the 1-card combos beat Nibiru while also being safe from Nibiru if Droll or Molchemy is part of the equation. And then the 2-card combos also beat Nibiru and a Veiler. I thought about it so much, and honestly, I just feel like Nibiru is more of a going first card than anything else. Because you see, when you're going first, you also have a board. It's not just like you have Nibiru and nothing else. And the main thing that your opponent is trying to break is your board, not your potential hand traps. The last thing your opponent will ever respect is your nib because he's too busy focusing on your board, and you can use this at your advantage. Like, even if you get stopped by getting, hand trapped or your opponent has a board breaker against you, well, if you just have like a detonator, then that might just be good enough for your Nibiru to really do a lot. Your opponent would usually need extra extenders to push through that detonator because even though it's not like that insane, it still kind of forces your opponent to commit more than just a 1-card combo in order to start playing. And then since your opponent has to commit to a lot of summons in order to do anything productive, then your opponent starts entering nib territory, and again, you can really capitalize off of that. So not only do you shut down your opponent's turn, you also make your opponent waste extra cards in hand, which is again very good for you, especially if you're entering a grind game. And then there's also a world in which your opponent completely greeds out after breaking your board and then completely plays into the Nib and then just basically loses after that. That could also allow you to make a huge comeback even if your opponent had all the answers to all of your plays. So having a Nibiru or like a token or a bestial monster on your field is not really good in case you're playing Ryzeal, because then your ex-Ryzeal will not be getting its search effect. Not a lot of people know that, by the way. But yeah, what I'm trying to say with this video is that Nibiru is not the kind of card that you can just throw in your deck and expect really good results. It's not like Ash, Valor, or Imperm, which are universally always good in every single format. If you want to play Nibiru, you gotta cater your strategy to work around it, or at least alongside it, which is a lot of work. And if I can be completely honest with you, it's not the kind of thing that you necessarily need to do in order to succeed. You're probably almost in the exact same position whether you choose to play Nibiru or not, as long as your strategy is coherent. Playing around Nibiru is something that people have developed instinctively so that they don't really have to think too much about it. You know, it's kind of like playing around Relinquished Anima or the Imperm column. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know how you feel about Nibiru and the Primal Being in the comment section below. Do you think that the card is actually going to be the best hand shop of the format, or at least one of the best, or do you think it's just not going to be the kind of card that you really have to play in order to do well? So I really want to hear what you have to say about the card. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.